At 65 years old, adults are twice as likely to be killed or injured by fire. That risk grows with age, doubling by 85. Fire is not the only hazard that threatens our older citizens. Falls lead the cause of death for unintentional injury in the home. 30% of people aged 65 and older are involved in falls each year. This leads to injuries, loss of mobility, and sometimes even death. Reduced mobility hampers movement and may result in failure to escape a fire. Because fire spreads rapidly in the home, sometimes only seconds are left to escape. By giving you the tools and tips to prevent these two issues, we can help you age in place safely. This is Remembering When. The next 8 episodes will feature Remembering When, a program to help the aging population stay in place. And now, here is Joe Thomas, Maine State Fire Marshal.
It's really about the audience that we're trying to use this program to reach, and that's our older population. They still want their independence, they still want to be able to live at home. But what we're trying to do, along with the safety tips and all of the other things that we're bringing forward, is if you're going to do these things in the home, you've got to do them safely.
We want to impress upon you, a component of aging in place is asking for help when needed. Asking for assistance doesn't mean you'll lose your independence. In fact, it helps you stay in the home longer.
We had a woman in town of Yarmouth who was cooking and had loose clothing on, which I made reference to with the smoking part of it as well. Caught sleeve of her house coat on fire, completely engulfed. Did manage to get the garment off. However, she was afraid she was going to get in trouble for what she had done. Never called anybody. This is a Friday evening at dinner time. On Sunday, she could not stand the pain any longer, and actually simply went to a quick care to see what they could give her for the pain. They immediately transferred her to the burn unit at Maine Medical Center. She died 3 days later with 3rd-degree burns over 60% of her body.
The Brunswick Fire Department and Maine State Fire Marshal's Office does not endorse smoking. We know it's a known health hazard that causes cancer and other illnesses, but we want to make sure that those that do smoke have all the safety tips they need to do it safely in the home. So, here's Joe Thomas to talk about smoking safety.
Well, obviously the best means is to really have a true ashtray that they are able to extinguish the smoking materials in and let them completely cool before they actually dispose of them in any trash. If they do it outdoors, what we recommend is that they actually have a bucket of water and they do it where they're actually smoking. And what you generally have around a home now is garden materials, and usually it's covered with pine bark mulch. And obviously it gets in the pine bark mulch, smolders, and then we see an exterior fire as we arrive on scene. It should be in the living area where suitable conditions exist, i.e. kitchen, living room, a den, someplace of that nature. Not in the bedrooms. We don't want them smoking in the bedrooms. We don't want people smoking in bed. That still is a significant hazard. And I use the example of loose clothing. Watching where the ashes go. You know, you see somebody shake a cigarette, and not all of the ashes seem to go in the ashtray. There's always other places. We certainly want to make sure that people are aware that if they're sitting in a very comfortable chair and smoking, perhaps watching TV or the evening news, there's always the likelihood that there's a possibility of dozing off while they're smoking. If you are on oxygen and if you are going to smoke, here are the safest ways to do it. And one of the biggest points that we make is that, number one, you never smoke while you're still on the cannula. If you're going to smoke and you've been on your cannula, you shut the cannula off, you remove the cannula, and you don't light up for approximately 10 minutes after you disconnect from the cannula, because your clothing has been permeated with oxygen. So even though you take the cannula off and you light up, you could still light up as well, simply because of the oxygenation that's in your clothing. So we want people to allow their clothing to dissipate of that oxygen enriched concentration. And then we also encourage them, then go outside and smoke. Don't still smoke with that oxygen container still in the home. It's really about the audience that we're trying to use this program to reach, and that's our older population. They still want their independence, they still want to be able to live at home. But what we're trying to do, along with the safety tips and all of the other things that we're bringing forward, is if you're going to do these things in the home, you've got to do them safely.
Summer's here and temperatures are rising, especially inside our cars. Our pets want to remind us that they can't tolerate the heat inside parked cars. On a 78-degree day, a parked car can reach 100 degrees in mere minutes. At 90 degrees, a whopping 109 degrees. Since a dog only cools off by panting, it is extra hard for them to stay cool. It takes less than 15 minutes for brain damage or death from heat stroke. Although your dog loves car rides, it may be their last. If you find an animal in a car and you believe it is in danger, dial 911. Do not attempt to free it on your own. This is illegal in the state of Maine. Only authorized officials are allowed to do so. Your pet can't tell you how hot they are, and you're not psychic, no matter how much you want to believe you are. Keep them cool, that's the rule. Before beginning any exercise regimen, it's important that you consult with your doctor. I'm here today with Valerie Shevelanchik, trainer and owner of Believe Fitness Center here in Brunswick, Maine. How are you doing today, Valerie?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So, what's the plan for today?
Well, I thought we would go over some exercises that are going to help with maintaining strength and mobility for those that are aging at home. We have Denise, who's going to help us today. Come on in, Denise.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well.
We're going to start off with some bicep curls. So Denise, I brought some weights for you to go ahead and grab if you want to just have a hold of them right next to your side. Go ahead and take a deep breath. Exhale. And now go ahead and take a nice deep breath and pull up. Slowly come right back down. Nice. Do about 10 of those.
So what's Denise doing here?
Denise is working on some shoulder work, so we're going to do side raises. She slowly brings her arms up. She stops right here so it's nice and level all the way out, and then nice and slow comes back down. We have a pause at the top, and then nice and slow back down. On the way up with the work, exhale, pause, and lower. Nice job. Again, I would do 10 to 12 reps, then rest for a few, and then go ahead and do them again. All right, Denise, we're going to do another form of a bicep curl using resistance bands. When you get these, you want to make sure that you slide them under your foot so it's right in the arch of the foot. That way when you start to pull on it, it's not going to slide out and over the toes. This will keep it right in place. Okay. So I want you to go ahead and bring those elbows right by your side. There you go. And then big pull up. Bring them right to your shoulders and then slowly right back down. Nice. Remember the breathing. Exhale on the work. Inhale when you come back down. So I'd have you do 10 to 12 of these, and then take a little rest, and then repeat them. We can do a seated row, so you keep your feet right where they are. You're gonna go ahead and move your hand right down here, on both sides of that. Yep, good. I have you scoot forward a little bit on the seat, and then you're gonna think about pulling your shoulder blades back as you pull up on those resistant bands. So squeeze those shoulder blades back, drive the elbows back. Yeah, pause, and then slowly bring it right back to your start position. Nice. Big squeeze here. Again, we'd do 10 to 12 reps. And then take a little rest and repeat that. All right, Denise, we're gonna work on getting up out of that chair, okay? So I want you to scoot forward just slightly. So get on the edge of the seat. There you go. Bring your hands right across your chest. Nice. And lean back just a little bit. Nice, neutral spine. Good. Sit up nice and tall when you come forward. And then now bring your arms straight out in front of you, and then push into the floor with your heels as you come up. Snap, crack. Let's do it again. Sit right back down. Nice. Come right back up. Good. Again, we'll do about 10 of those.
Is there another exercise Denise can do to work out her legs?
Sure. We can work on your calves, get a little bit of mobility in the ankles and the toes. I'm gonna have you grab right a hold, or just rest your hands right a hold on there. Now you're gonna come up onto your toes. So I want you to think about pushing off the floor with the heels, coming up on the toes, and then coming back down. So pause when you come to the top, push up, pause, and then right back down. Nice. We do 10 or 12 of those, then you're gonna rest, and then you're gonna do it again. Okay. So we can do a little bit of balancing work here where you put your hands right back up on the back of the chair. You're just gonna get your balance on one leg, and then you're gonna lift the other leg. Bring the knee right up, try to balance on that foot, and then tap it back down. Good. Stay right on that side and do about 10 on that side. Nice. You can go ahead and bring that leg up, hold it for maybe 5 seconds to start with, and then bring it right back down. And as you get more comfortable, then you can go ahead and add some more time to it. We're gonna do a wall push-up. So something that you can do any wall that you have in your home. You'll face your wall, and then you're gonna go ahead and open up your legs about hip distance apart. Your hands are gonna come out front, and you're gonna place them right onto the wall. Nice. So you wanna make sure that your arms are dropped down so they're level with your shoulders. You don't wanna have them up high. Good. Now your whole body is gonna go ahead and slowly go towards the wall just by bending the elbows, and then push into those palms to come right back up. Perfect. Go ahead and do it again. Perfect. Good. You'll do about 10 of those, and then you're gonna pause, and then you're gonna go ahead and do it again. So we really wanna think about stretching after we've done those exercises. So first what I'm gonna have you do is open up that chest, since we just did our push-ups on the wall. I'll go ahead and have you sit up nice and tall. Bring your arms down by your side, and then bring them up. And then rotate your palms so they're facing forward, yep. And just try to push your back. You'll have to lean forward just slightly in your chair. There you go. So a little arch in the back. Just hold them right there. We'll hold for about 10, 15 seconds. Can you feel that opening up in your chest? Good. All right, Denise, now we're gonna work on stretching that lower back. So if you slide towards the end of that seat, good. You're gonna go ahead and take your hands and bring them underneath your legs and just hinge. As you hinge, you wanna feel that stretch in your lower back. Make sure you can breathe though. You wanna maintain that breathing. Nice, nice deep breath. Exhale, try to take it a little bit deeper in that stretch. Good.
There are many other exercises you can perform at home. To find these, go onto the National Institute on Aging's website, Go for Life, which you see right here in front of us. Thank you very much, Valerie, for instructing Denise today.
You're welcome.
I hope you have a good day.
Thank you so much. You too.
Thanks. Filling a portable gas can, a simple task we all take for granted. But do we know the proper way? Make sure it is an approved container. Never fill a gas can inside a vehicle, even the bed of a pickup truck. Remove the can and walk 5 feet from the vehicle. Touch your hand to metal to discharge any static charge. When fueling, make sure the nozzle is in contact with the can. Fill to 95% full. Read the directions on the pump. Never store portable fuel containers inside the home. Store in an outdoor structure such as shed, storage barn, or separate garage. Make sure there are no potential sources of ignition close by. Keep a dry chemical extinguisher close by. Gas in the can, store in the shed. And now to the Bijevska Historical Society to discuss with Jim Graves about the Great Fire of 1947 here in the state of Maine in our segment, Fires That Changed the World.
From what I understand, the spring of 1947 was a very warm, unusually warm springtime. The snow melted, the snowpack went away very early in March during mapling season. And we went through a whole period of about a little more than 110 days without any rain. It all kind of came to fruition in October with the leaves falling off the trees. The leaves were released from the trees very early that year due to the rain. So that put down a lot of debris on the forest floor, and which helped propagate the growth of these fires. We're dealing with post-war. The state's starting to relax a little bit from going through a major world war where Maine sent a lot of men and women to Europe and Asia to fight in these wars. They come back through the period of 45 and 46, and they start to reassimilate their lives and try to enjoy themselves again, and then all of a sudden, boom, we get hit, 2 years after the war with this major catastrophe. And I think it was a really big awakening for the state of Maine. As I understand it, they broke out early in the year, but they were managed pretty well through March, April, May, June. I guess there was a period of wet weather in the summer, but it dries right back out. As we know, we've been seeing these drought conditions, so the fires took off. That, and also one of the bigger contributors to these fires were major hurricane force winds. There were sustainable winds for days, and as I understand it, so it started basically October 17th at 4 o'clock in the town of Bar Harbor on Crooked Road, just west of Hulls Harbor. And the fire swept across that section of the island. I think it burnt 17,188 acres, 10,000 of that being in the national park. So that fire took off, but in the meantime, there was other fires that were springing up all over the state of Maine, and it quickly became a true firestorm. There was over 200 fires reported, and there were 16 that were taken to the level of being major fire incidents. Between the 17th and the 23rd of October of that year, and there a lot of commonality to hearing it all went crazy on the 23rd when these winds really picked up. So our governor was Horace Hildreth at the time, and he declared a state of emergency, knowing that his state's under attack by fire. And there was fires all over New England that year, in New Hampshire and Rhode Island and western New York. So it was very dry in our region anyways. Nova Scotia, New Brunswick had fires, and this all led into this perfect storm. So then after a few days of dealing with it, it became a federal emergency. So President Truman issued all help to New England, all help to Maine specifically. So a naval ship, and this is one of the coolest things, is a U.S. naval ship, the USS Little Rock, came into Portland Harbor and anchored and sent its sailors to help fight the fires.
Oh, wow.
So, we had 16 people killed, 16 individuals died during this time period. and that was pretty tragic. Thousand homes burnt. There was like 3,000 people that were homeless. Many businesses burnt up. I think it would be really amazing to see how Maine people came together. In fact, I've heard a lot of stories of people saying, we had to be there for one another, that was the right thing to do. I've heard stories as a kid growing up how, you know, people stepped up women at night making sandwiches and getting them out to the fire line to help feed the men that were fighting these fires. So, and taking care of one another, getting blankets for the people that didn't have a home, finding shelter in cottages that summer people had on the lakes and whatnot to get them into. So, well, as I understand it, the rains finally came in early November. And I've read several different reports of when they came, early November, but the 8th of November is what I can understand, where it really rained and put these fires out completely. And then, of course, the snows came shortly thereafter here in Maine, and then it was put to bed. But then the lessons were learned. But in the 50s, early 50s, they started to come up with some fire training to follow standards, you know, NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, and how to get our firefighters prepared, but also mutual aid agreements at the local level, like between Brunswick and Topsham and Durham and Freeport, and even beyond that into what they call the Northeast Compact, and that's New Brunswick, New Hampshire, and Quebec. Insofar as forestry, forest firefighting. So whenever any of those provinces, because we border more provinces than we do states, I mean, let's face it, they all work together to help battle these fires if they ever to break out.
That was Jim Graves talking about the Great Fire of 1947 here in the state of Maine. And now to the Curtis Memorial Library to talk to Jane Margison and Mark Waltz about fraud awareness. Welcome to our first of 8 segments on fraud awareness here at the Curtis Memorial Library. I'm here today with our experts, Jane Margison, Maine Communications Director of AARP, and Commander Mark Waltz of the Brunswick Police Department. How are you both doing today?
Just fine, thank you.
Glad to hear it. Well, let's get right to it. What are we going to discuss today?
Well, what we'd like to do is talk about some of the scams and frauds that we're hearing about here in the state of Maine, some of the trends that we're seeing, and hopefully offer some really solid tips that people can use to stay safe from these crimes. The fact is that you can be your own best fraud fighter. You don't need to be the next victim. But scammers are creative and they are relentless. And we're going to be talking about a series of scams today, but of course there are many more out there. This is part of what we call the con artist playbook. We talk about what is it that they do that makes them so good at what they do. How is it that millions of intelligent Americans every single year literally lose billions of dollars to scams and fraud? Well, one of the things that they're so good at, as I mentioned, is inducing an emotional response. So when we think about something called what we call imposter scams, this is literally when somebody pretends to be someone else. And they may call you and say, I'm from the IRS, and David, you haven't paid your taxes for 2 years, and you're going to be fined, or you may even be jailed unless you take care of this issue right now. And they'll tell you how much to pay and that you need to pay immediately with a credit card, and you may be thinking, oh my goodness, I thought I paid my taxes, and is there really something that I don't owe? But they're hammering you over and over again, so by the time you kind of come up for air, you're terrified that you're going to be arrested or fined. That's all part of the plan, to get you under the ether is what they call it. Get you into that space where your logic is kind of going out the window and you're no longer thinking that something might be a scam. You just want to pay and get this to stop. And another scam that we come across, and I'm sure Commander Waltz can talk about this too, another kind of imposter scam is the grandparent scam, where someone will literally pretend to be someone's grandchild. And they'll probably have done their homework, they'll have looked on social media, maybe done a little digging to learn something about the family, so by the time they call and pretend to be a grandchild, they may know the name of the parent, they may know ages of the kids, who's traveling where. They'll know enough to create a profile so when they make that phone call, it can actually sound plausible. And they'll pretend to be the grandchild who's in trouble, they've been arrested, they're in a foreign country, they've lost their wallet, there could be any number of things, and they need money and they need it now. And please don't tell mom and dad, you know, it's all designed to kind of, again, get that emotional response. You love the grandchild, so you want to help. You're being told you have to do this immediately. Sometimes they might even have a law enforcement officer come on the phone to keep the scam going and say, yes, if you don't pay right now, your grandchild is going to jail. It's all designed to make you stop thinking that this could be a scam. And the trick is, stop and verify in all of these. If the IRS is calling you, hang up the phone, call the IRS yourself with your own number that you look up yourself, and they'll gladly tell you, nope, we're not calling you to tell you owe back taxes. Somebody calls you about the grandparent scam, call the parents, call the grandchild. Ask a question that only your real grandchild would know. Find some way to, you know, verify the situation before you pay, because once you pay, the money's gone.
I think it might be a good idea too, because we could tell you for these different scams what the problems with them are. You know, one is the IRS is never going to ask for money over the phone, say, or a police department isn't going to ask for a gift card to bail out a child or something. But if when you're in a good mind, you think of maybe a trusted friend, maybe your best friend that you have lunch with once a week or something, and make a pact with that friend and say, whenever I get a phone call asking me for money, I'm going to talk to you first, so that you've planned out in advance what you're going to do. And then it's a little easier if when you're getting this moment of pressure to remember, oh, wait a minute, this was my deal I made with my friend, we're always going to talk to each other first. And then just talking it out with a friend, you usually, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. And if for some reason you don't have a friend that you feel close enough you want to talk to, you know, you pay your taxes for a reason, we invite you to call the police department.
What is the ether in relation to these scams? As you said before, you used that term, the ether.
Yes. The ether is basically defined as being a heightened emotional response. And if the scammers, as they say, try to get you under the ether, they're trying to get you into that place where they're really controlling the conversation and your logic is kind of going out the window. And some people actually report a physical response to this sort of ether moment. Your heart might race a little. Some people report breaking out into a sweat because you're getting upset about something. You're worried about the grandkid, you're worried that you owe money, and there's all this pressure to take care of it immediately. That's the other thing. That's a huge red flag. But if you can recognize the ether, that emotional response, even maybe the physical response, disengage immediately, hang up the phone.
Another thing that may work too is screen your calls. You know, don't answer the phone. So many now are opinion polls or not even real people. So let all your calls go to the answering machine. And if it's someone you need to talk to, they're going to leave a message, and you listen to it before you call them back. And it gives you a chance to think about things again in a calmer mind without being worked up into the ether.
Yes. The point, just such a good point, is there's always someone to call. And it could be a friend. I think that's a great idea of having kind of this arrangement with somebody you know and you trust. But you know, call the police, the AARP Fraud Watch Network, which is just, you know, the hallmark of the programs that we're working on around scams and fraud prevention. There's a toll-free number. These are brochures that have some of the top scams that we're hearing about and easy ways to, you know, recognize them. We always say if you can spot a scam, you can stop a scam. And what's great is on the back is a toll-free number, and this is staffed by highly trained volunteers who will answer your questions, tell you what to do if you think your identity's been stolen or you think you've been scammed. They know exactly what to do, and it's state specific. And there's no cost to this. You don't have to be an AARP member. It's available for free to anyone of any age. But this is just such a great resource, and we have these available for free at our office.
Check the link on the screen to find more information, the AARP website. And until next time, stay safe. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you enjoyed your time at the Brunswick Fire Department. Until next time, stay safe.